Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in about 2 minutes as everybody dialed in. Thanks for those that are always promptly here at the top of the hour. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in just a little under 2 minutes. Thanks for dialing in. Good morning, everybody. Get started here in just a little bit over a minute. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in about 30 seconds. Good morning, everybody. We're just waiting here for a few more seconds, get some more people dialed in here. Good morning, everybody. We're going to start here in just a few seconds. Okay. Well, today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is the science of selling. There's so much has changed in about what we know about selling as compared to when we first got into this industry. And when we first got into the industry, we were taught sales by who? We were taught sales by our manager, who taught them his manager, or your manager, how to sell, his manager. So we just basically went by feel. We went by other salespeople, but there wasn't a lot of science that was done on selling. And since then, there's been a ton of science done on selling. One of the best books about that is called To Sell as Human by Daniel Pink. See, the days of Zig Ziglar and I mean, as good as they were, I mean, that's how I came in the industry. That's how, and all of the other big motivational speakers for sales speakers. That's what they thought. They thought salespeople need motivation. That's what they need. It's all a numbers game. Salespeople just need to be pumped up. You know, always be closing. Blip, 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 blip. Guys, that's because that's all they knew. So we stumbled by, and it was a numbers game because we just assumed that you couldn't close anybody. You're going to find that if you go far long enough, you'll find the right person that's ready to buy at that particular moment. That's not selling. That's not selling. That's foraging. That's foraging. So since then, there's been a ton of research done on selling. And why do you think there's been so much research done on selling? Well, because this. What in life do we do that does not require selling? To find our spouse requires selling. To get our kids to do stuff requires selling. To get our mom to give up her keys when she shouldn't be driving anymore requires selling. I mean, we are selling non-stop. To get the waiter to bring us in, or the hotel person to give us a better room, it requires that. We are selling 24/7. To keep our spouse from being mad at us, we're selling. When we go on to go do something that somebody else doesn't want to do, we're selling. So yes, we're in the profession of selling. That's great because we can actually use our professional skills in our everyday life. But that's why there's been so much research done. And to sell as human is one of the, there's like 3 or 4 books that are on the science of selling that I think are worth reading. This is one of them. So to sell as human, Ferlazzo makes a distinction between irritation and agitation. Irritation, he says, is challenging people to do something that we want them to do. We irritate them. We challenge people to do something we want them to do. By contrast, agitation is challenging them to do something that they want to do. What do you think is going to be more successful, getting somebody to do something we want or something that they want? It's something that they want. And what does the whole 5Q system revolve around? About getting them to do something that they want to do. So what he discovered throughout his work or his career is that irritation does not work. So when we've been selling the old style way, we wanted people to buy from us. We wanted them to move their money to us. We wanted them to invest with us. We wanted them to give a referral. No. got to be the opposite. They should want to give us their money. And how do we do that with 5Q system? Do we ever brag about what we do in the 5Q system? Look what I do. I do all these 7 non-financial things. I take care of people's titling and make sure I do this, I do that. No, we never brag about what we do. We let them come to the conclusion like, holy cow, why isn't my guy doing this? My guy either doesn't know, which is the first 7 things, doesn't care, which is the next 2 or 3 things, or he's doing these things on purpose, which is the next 10 or so things. So then they discover he doesn't know, doesn't care, and in the end, he's doing these things on purpose to withhold information from me so he can make more money on me. What do they want to do? They want to move their money away from that guy. Do we want them to move? Well, sure we do, but that's never part of the conversation. The conversation is they want to move. They want to move their money. Does that make sense? So this whole thing about always be closing. No. If you're always closing, how long are you going to have a prospect before they run away? They have choices out there. You pressure them, they're gone. We don't use always be closing. So in the New Science of Selling, or in the New Science to Sell a Human, I just gave you the name of the other book. The New Science of Selling is another book that I read. I love on selling, but this one is the Sell a Human. The new ABCs of selling, instead of always be closing, are be in attunement with the client, provide buoyancy, and provide clarity. You do those 3 things, that's how you sell. Not always closing, but instead provide attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. That's how you're going to sell. So what is attunement? Attunement is empathy, emotional and cognitive sensing, relational sense making, immersion in the other person, not in you and what you want, but in the other person. How do we do that? Open-ended questions. It's always about them. Listening to them. Empathetic attunement, bodily empathy, mirroring them, speaking the same speed that they speak in, at the same volume level that they speak, facilitating intersubjectivity, attunement, synchronizing, focused attention, and connectedness. So we're going to talk about all those. So one of the biggest things they found about selling is that when empathy goes up, the y-axis is empathy, the x-axis here is the feeling of power. So when we feel like we're powerful, we're going to try to get them to do things. I'm an awesome salesperson. I'm going to educate them. I'm going to tell, I'm going to sell, and I'm going to preach, and I'm going to teach. That's the feeling. That's way down here on the feeling of power. But the more you tell, sell, preach, and teach, guess what happens? Your sense of empathy goes down because it's all about you and your knowledge, and you want to give that knowledge to them. It's all about you. Now, when you're over here and you give the client the feeling of the power, and how do we give the client the feeling of power? Because open-ended questions, gossiping, aping, agree, parrot, empower. We give them the power. So you can't just be totally empathetic with no feeling of power, and you can't be totally powerful with no empathy. There's a happy spot here. Now there is a test that has been done to determine whether you are client-oriented or whether you're self-oriented. Whether you're client-oriented or self-oriented. I've done this test. I think it's been about 5 years since we've done this test. But here's what I want you to do right now. Write with your finger. Now don't use a permanent magic marker. Write with your finger on your forehead a capital letter E. Write on your forehead right now with your finger a capital letter E. Do it right now. Okay. So here's what they found. Some people write the E this way. Some people write the E this way. Which one do you think is internal facing versus client facing? Or not client facing, but other person facing. So if you wrote it this way, it means your internal focus. You don't care what's happening to the people around you. Here, you're saying, listen, I'm writing the E so the person I'm looking at can actually read it. So this is a client facing. This is person in front of you facing. This is other person facing. And this is what you want to be, not that. The responses to the task of drawing an E on one's forehead, self-oriented E, indicates no perspective taking. You don't pay attention with the way what's happening around you, how other people are reacting to you, what they're thinking, how they're feeling. The other oriented indicates perspective taking. You do pay attention to what's going around you. So how did you do on that? So here's the funny thing. You increase your power by reducing it. Just like we do with 5Q. We increase our expertise by decreasing it. We never tell people our expertise. When I was doing seminars, did I ever put up there all my qualifications? Did I ever spend the first 5 minutes talking about how great I am and all the things that I do and all my qualifications and all my education? No. My intro was about 30 seconds long. I said, you know what, if you want to know more, you can look me up online, but you came here for information about you, not me. So I discounted all of my expertise. I let them determine themselves that I was an expert. Just like here, you don't increase your power by trying to force it on people, you increase your power by reducing it. So when they studied power at Kellogg University School of Management, they found if the other person feels more powerful, that they have the knowledge, that they have the experience, they only see things in their own perspective. So if you think you're the expert, you only see things from your perspective. If a person feels low power, the other person may know something that they don't know. So in other words, you think, hey, the client might know something I don't know. Well, they're darn right they do. The client knows how they're feeling. You don't. The client knows what they're thinking. You don't. So 100%, we don't know, or that client knows everything we don't know, which is how they're thinking and how they're feeling. See, that leads other people to see things from the other person's eyes. That's what we want to do. We're constantly with the 5Q system trying to get to see the world through their eyes by asking them open-ended questions. See, having that low power and asking those questions gives you access to the keys of what they're thinking, the keys of how they're feeling. So we don't want to feel power. We want low power. That's what gives us the access. So are you an emotional chameleon? Are you an emotional chameleon? Do you want to be super hyped up when you have a client that's down in the dumps? No. Do you want to be down in the dumps when the client's super hyped up? No. Do you want to be wild and crazy when the client is serious? No. Do you want to be serious when the client is wild and crazy? No. You need to be an emotional chameleon. You need to pay attention to how they're feeling, how they're acting, how they're communicating, and mirror that. So to assume a position of lower power, and again, Berkeley. So we've got Kellogg School of Management, we've got Berkeley. They all have found the same thing, that when you lower your power, when you start thinking, I'm not the expert here, I'm not going to tell, I'm not going to sell, I'm not going to preach, I'm not going to teach, that's when you start seeing things through other people's eyes. And guys, if you can see the world through other people's eyes, guess what? You now have the keys to motivating them. And when they've done negotiation research, they found in negotiation experiments that when they asked people they had two groups of people for negotiating. Two groups of people, trying to arrive on a good price. So here's what they did. They had one group to say, I want you to imagine how the other side is feeling. I want you to understand imagine how the other side is feeling as we go through this negotiation process. The second group was, now I want you to, for you, this group, I want you to imagine how the other side is thinking. And then you had the control group, which they gave no direction to whatsoever. The one group, they said, imagine how they're feeling, imagine how they're thinking, or no direction whatsoever. So the question is, who do you think had the best outcome? The group with imagine what the other side is feeling, imagine what the other side is thinking, or no direction whatsoever. I got this one wrong. I thought it was imagine what the other side is feeling. Since we know that people make their decisions through emotions and then they validate it with facts. I thought, try to imagine how the other person is feeling. It's not. They found when they the group that had a 76% higher satisfaction of both parties was when they try to think, how is the other person thinking? How is the other person thinking? 76% higher satisfaction of either the feeling group or the no instruction group. So when the group tried to think, how is the other side thinking? 76% higher. That's almost double the satisfaction of both parties. Now, how do we do that with the 20-point checklist? Because open-ended questions. We constantly understand what they're thinking. Why? Because they tell us. Do we ever assume what they're thinking? No. And here's the funny thing. Do they lie to us? No, they do not lie to us. They do not. They would have no motivation to lie to us. Now, what they will do at times is to use qualifying language and say, oh, I see why you're saying that. I see your point. I see what you're trying to say. Guys, when you say, I see what you're trying to say, I see your point, does that mean they agree with us? No. So you need to listen to that qualifying language. And when they say that, you say, yeah, no, that's, that puts you at the front of the class. Everybody I've known that really has a good education, a good handle on this, actually can see that. So what do you see? Then I turn it right back on them. What do you see when we look at this situation? So they said they see what I see. I'm going to pat them on my back. I'm going to aid them, agree, parrot, empower, and then turn right back around and say, no, but you got to tell me what you see. See, they have to tell me what they're thinking. So do not tell, sell, preach, or teach. Let them sell themselves. Make sense? And humans do naturally mimic. The funny thing is, if you're in England or you're in Australia for a while, what starts to creep into your voice? Do you do a little bit of mimicry in their accent, or you use their mannerisms? Also, when you're hanging around your kids, do you use different language than when you're hanging around with your mom and dad? See, we mimic in the words that we use. When you're in the dance floor, how many of you are brave enough to do a completely different dance? When you look on a dance floor, what percentage of people on that dance floor are doing almost the exact same dance? How many people on that dance floor are doing something completely radically different? Virtually no one. I mean, as human beings, we've learned that if you stick out like a sore thumb, you might end up the sore thumb. So we tend to want to stick around people who act, look, dance, speak, use the same language that we do. Does that make sense? So you want to learn to mirror people. They're happy, be happy. They're serious, be serious. If they're angry, be angry. And I've been angry with people before. When they've gotten angry with me, I get angry with them. So I want you right now to do this. To put your two index fingers in front of you and have them touch. Your two index fingers are touching. Now push really hard, or not really hard, push hard with your right hand and give no resistance with your left hand. What happens? Well, the left hand moves. Okay, do it the other way. Push with the left finger and give no resistance to the right finger. What happens? They move. So when that's happening, are we having a good discussion? If one person's bulldozing one side or the other side? No. So what I have done and learned to do is that when they apply a light pressure, guess what I do? A light pressure. When they're slightly irritated, guess what I become? Slightly irritated. When they become really irritated, guess what I become? You're really irritated. Now, when I say really irritated, I'm not saying that if they start yelling, I'm going to start yelling. But am I going to just cave? If they start yelling, I don't know, I'm just saying this. I've never had a client yell at me. But if they were yelling, would I just cave and let them steamroll over me? No. I'm going to apply the pressure back. I say, so whatever I've done, whatever I've said, I didn't mean to, but apparently what I've done is really upset you. And I apologize for that. So what I've done, I mean, I'm here to move us forward. I'm here to put you in a better position. But apparently what I've done has upset you. And I have to apologize for that. I have to apologize for that. So what have I done? And what will they do at that point? To start to explain why they're angry at you. Then you know why this is happening. Well, it's not even you. It's just I got in an accident on the way here. But they'll count when you apply that pressure right back and say, listen, whatever I've done, apparently you're angry at me. I'm sorry. So I'll take full responsibility for that. I'm here to make things better, but apparently I'm making things worse. So that's the last thing I want to do. So whatever I've done, I've apologized. Now, what you want to do after you apologize, though, is then shut up and look at them. So when I shut up after I apologize, geez, sounds like you're really angry. I totally get it, because I've obviously done something to upset you. I've done something to make you angry. I'm here to, my purpose was to make things easier, things better, but I obviously have not done that. I've said something, I've done something, whatever, to make you super angry, and I apologize for that. And then I shut up. And by shutting up and just looking them straight in the eye, am I applying pressure, guys? So I've apologized. I've taken full responsibility for whatever the heck has got them all upset. But then after I've apologized, I just shut up and look at them. Now, who's applying the pressure, them or me? And am I doing it in an aggressive manner when I do that? No, I've just spent a minute and a half apologizing, whatever the hell it is that I did. And then I just shut up and look at them. Now I'm going to apply pressure back and say, now you explain yourself. It's obvious that I don't know what you're angry at. You explain to me why you're angry. I don't say that out loud. I just shut up and let them explain themselves. Does that make sense? So that's when I apply. Now, how often do I have to do that? You should never have to do that. Obviously, if you've done that, something has gone wrong. You've told, you've sold, you've preached, you're teached at some point in the conversation. Because if all you're doing is asking open-ended questions, you'll never be in that situation. But you know what? Even when things are clicking and you're making $1 million a year, and sometimes because you're making $1 million a year, guess what you do? You get lazy. You take shortcuts. So, I was constantly having to be reminded, Mike, stick to the system, stick to the open-ended questions, stick to the motivational interviewing. I know you think you're Mr. Big Shot. I know you're making a lot of money, but you can't start telling, selling, preaching, and teaching. You can't get lazy. You have to keep doing things the right way. And I would occasionally go back and, revert, do it the wrong way, and you'd get people angry, but then you have to use other skills such as mirroring to get them back on track. Make sense? So now, understand that strategically mirroring has a much better result. Don't copy exactly. Don't copy exactly what they're doing, but instead do it subtly. For example, when I was applying pressure back, did I apply it by getting mad at them? No. But did I sound ultra friendly there either? No. So you can't be, if I start yelling back, what do we got? A shouting match. So you have to mirror subtly. Listen to what they say, but be aware of casually mirroring them. So if they cross their arms, do you immediately cross your arms with them? Completely copy? No, but after 3 or 4 seconds, could you cross your arms? Yes. If they lean back, do you lean back immediately? No, you wait for 3 or 4 seconds and you lean back. But don't. When we say mirror, it's subtly mirror. When they're speaking super fast, do such things super fast. No, but you do speed up a little. You do speed up a little. So you do it subtly. Strategic mimicry. So watch arms, legs, and leaning. Talking fast or slow. Use a certain expression. So watch what they're doing with their arms, their legs, whether they're leaning in or out, whether they're talking fast or slow, whether do they use certain expressions. Then wait. Don't copy, but instead give 10 to 15 seconds and think about following suit. Think about mirroring them after 10 to 15 seconds. Don't do this too many times, but instead salt it into the conversation. Wayne, begin to take your mind off mirroring and let it happen naturally. We're not trying to be false, but instead subtly letting them know that they're among friends. We are alike. So when we say aping, agree, parrot, and empower. But let's talk about the P there, the parroting. So is it better to parrot or is it better to paraphrase? So for example, if they say, I think the market's going to go up. You say, or if they say, if they say, I think the market's going to go up, you say, absolutely, the market's going to go up. That's parroting. The market's going to go up, I say the market's going to go up. If they say the market's going to go up, they say, yeah, the market at this point really does have fuel behind it, a lot of emphasis behind it, so it should be moving in the upward direction. That's paraphrasing. What do you think is better? Now, here's the funny thing. They said, hey, don't copy people, subtly mimic. But now when it comes to them using their words, when they say the market's going to go up, I say, yeah, absolutely, the market's going to go up. That's copying them. I've just said, when it comes to their physicality, do it subtly. Now let's talk about words. They say the market's going to go up. I say, absolutely, the market's going to go up. Or when they say the market's going to go up, I say, absolutely, there's a lot of fuel out there. There's a lot of reasons now for the market to be moving in an upward direction. That's paraphrasing. Which do you think is better, parroting or paraphrasing? Parroting or paraphrasing? They've done experiments on this. In fact, they went with waiters, and when waiters, and this experiment has done multiple, I think I found like 6 different studies where they use waiters. I guess because it's a very quick experiment that you can do. They had waiters parrot, when people gave the order, they repeated it back word for word, and then another group repeated it back by paraphrasing. What do you think? Who do you think fared better when it came to tip time? The ones that repeated it back word for word, or the ones that paraphrased? Well, which one is going to tell them that, hey, that guy thinks not like me, but exactly like me? When you parrot, they found that tips went up. And this was universal with all those studies, about an average of 70% versus paraphrasing. So that's why I don't say, APing does not stand for agree, paraphrase, and empower. It says agree, parrot, word for word, and empower. Does that make sense? So that's attunement of the ABCs, not always be closing, but attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. That's attunement. Get in touch with the client. Look at the world through their eyes. Get into their shoes. That's attunement. Now let's talk about buoyancy. Buoyancy, keeping up, so thinking positive. Now, this is for ourselves. What have they found? You remember this guy on Saturday Night Live? I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Al Franken, that character he had. So talking positively to yourself in the mirror. What have they found? Does that work or does that not work? It does not work. And yet, what is so many like the Zig Ziglars and all those people back then? What they tell you? You gotta pump yourself up. You gotta put those right on the mirror every morning that you're good enough, that you're gonna have a great day or a good. Does not work. Does not work. Does not work. Because you know what? When we think positively, we go out in the world and the world kicks us in the nuts again. How long before the positive talk goes away? Immediately. This does not work. Positive does not work. Instead, you need to think like Bob the Builder. And what did Bob the Builder say? Can we do it? Yes, we can. So what you want to do is actually write down your answer and say, when you have a problem, list specific reasons why you can do things. This allows you to put a strategy together and come to itself. You got to figure out what's dragging you down. What's dragging you down? So let's say, I'll give you an example. When I first got out of the Navy, I sold office equipment, and the 4th time I was using positive language because it was the old, that was back in the late 80s, so I was still using all the old Zig Ziglar stuff, think positively, blah, blah, blah. But the 4th time I was kicked out of a building that said on the front, no soliciting, and then I went in there. The 4th time I was kicked out by not armed guards, but by building security, I quit the job. I just couldn't handle it. Now, what should I have done instead? Can I get access to the people in that building? That's what I should have been asking. And then instead of just ignoring the no soliciting sign and going in there, I should have done what? Yes, I can get access to them. I can look them up. I can call them up. I can figure out a reason why they should see me. I can find out a reason why they should let me in that building. I can provide value to them before I even walk through that door that says no soliciting. See, I should have said, instead of, yes, I can do it. I can go into this building, even though I'm scared, even though I might get kicked out of it, I can do it. No. I should say, can I go contact the people in this building, get them to see me? Yes, I can. How? I start listing specific reasons why I can. I put a strat. Now, I did not do this because remember, I'm still working in the dark ages of selling back then. And I got out of the office selling equipment selling business because I was just beat to heck. I just couldn't handle it anymore. But if instead, with the new knowledge here, I could have at that time put a strategy together, and that will give me when I have a strategy, it makes me much more confident. See, that's like, have you ever seen the movie All Is Lost with Robert Redford when he's on a sailboat? It's the most anxiety-producing movie I've seen, with the exception that you learn that it be like this guy, like this sailor, because what happens is something breaks, he fixes it. Another thing breaks, he fixes it. And things keep getting worse, but he fixes it. He never gets mad. He never uses an F word. He never throws a wrench overboard. When something breaks, what he does, he sits down and thinks, how can I fix this? And he fixes it. That's how we need to be. That's how we need to be. See, we need to have a positive attitude, not positive talk. Looking in the mirror saying, I could do it, I could do it. No, 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 no. Positive attitude means that, well, you know, for every problem, there's a solution. So what is this? There's a problem here. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Here's what we can do. Here's what we can try. May not fix it, but it'll give us more information. We can try again. So not positive talk, but positive attitude. There's a big difference. You see that? So, and they looked at positivity ratio. Positivity ratio is how often, when you were looking at things, do you have, are looking at how things could go well versus how things could go poorly. Well, if I do a seminar, it's never going to work. People are not going to show up. I'm going to get this plate like a tire kicker. It's just going to be a lot of money. People are going to be there just for the food. I mean, if I'm saying that, then obviously, guess what? So I have a flourishing peak performing, or am I over here? Possible depression. So if I'm doing something, I want to be having at least a 3+. And what they found is this: all the way up to when in your life, if you're having 11 positive approaches to things in life versus more negative. Now, once you get up to above 11, possibly you're a bit crazy. So what you're looking for is at least 3-to-1 ratio. 3-to-1 ratio where you're approaching things with a positive nature, a positive can-do attitude, a positive that if we do, we can come up with a plan to make this work. If it's 3-to-1 versus explaining to yourself why something's not going to work, that's going to be that's going to allow you to be successful. 3 positive. Can we build it? Yes, we can. To know this will never work. This will never work. This will never work. But I guess we could try it. This will never work. This will never. But I guess no. We can. What's the problem? Can we fix it? Yes, we can. 3-to-1. That's what you're looking for. And this is a great book, Positivity. Top-notch research reveals that a 3-to-1 ratio will change your life. Super book. If you find yourself down in the doldrums all the time and just kind of plodding through life, this is a great book to do. And positivity expressed by how? Amusement, laughter, appreciation for life, gratitude, writing those. Remember we talked about you should be writing at least 3 emails of appreciation and gratitude every single day to somebody, or calling them at least 3 days. Approach life with joy, with interest, curiosity, inspiration, hope, pride. Guys, if you have these things, do you think you're going to be an unsuccessful person? Not even about money. If you have these things, are you going to be a successful person? Yes, you are. Now, because I've seen people with money that don't have these things. Are they successful? No. I've seen poor people with these things. And are they successful? Yes. I would consider anybody with these things would be living a successful life. So, have that positive attitude. If you're having a problem with that, get this book. Get this book. Now, how should we handle rejection? Because they looked at salespeople and said, how do they handle rejection? And there's basically 3 things you want to look at when you look at rejection. One is either look at it as a temporary thing or a permanent thing. And by the time I got kicked out of the 4th building by security, when I was selling office equipment, I was looking at rejection as what? Temporary or permanent? I was looking at it as permanent, which is why I quit that industry. I couldn't take it anymore. This is going to in my mind, this is going to happen every single time I go into the building. And even, I didn't get kicked out of every building, but 4 out of 30, I started to think, what? This is going to happen every single time. What did that do to my ability to sell once I got in? Terrible. Looking at rejection versus specific. So I want to be looking at, this is a temporary problem. Rejection is a temporary problem. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. That's how I built the whole 21-point checklist system. I simply said, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this. That didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. Let me try this. Oh, that did work. Okay, I fixed that. Now I'm going to go to the next problem. And I just built it block by block, brick by brick, I didn't sit down and design the program. Instead, I fixed everything that didn't work until I had a program that did work. So I looked at the rejection I was getting in any particular part of the 20-point checklist system as temporary. That's temporary. It's until I could fix it. It's not permanent. It's just I need to find the fix. And that's what I did. And did I look at the whole thing universally being rejected? No, I said I'm being rejected at this particular time. When I would try to get them to say that their guy their company didn't care about them because of titling, if that didn't work, I wasn't trying to fix the whole thing at one time. I was fixing just that one thing till I came up with the right script to get them to say what I wanted them to say. So I've worked on one specific script at a time. Not, oh, this whole thing sucks, it's not working. No. You know what? There's a lot of things in here not working, but I can't work them all the time. I'm going to just work on one particular thing. And when I was not successful, I took it personally. Boy, believe me, when I was selling office equipment, I took that personally. But even with the first 8 years in the business, when I was making no more than $50,000 a year, I took that personal. And when I take it personal, what did I do? I blamed everybody. Remember, I quit the business temporarily. Went to my wife, said, I'm quitting. She goes, why are you quitting? I said, these people in Rochester are idiots. They're idiots. They're taking all my information and going back to the person who did all these terrible things to them in the first part. They're idiots for doing it. And she looked at me like I was the idiot, right? See, when I take it personal, I start blame the blame game. No. I should not take it personal. When I started to say, it's not personal, it's just something externally that's happening, and started to record my meetings. Like, okay, now I see why it's happening. They're not idiots. How I'm speaking to them is idiotic. I'm the idiot here. Well, I can work on this specific thing right here. It's not working well and get it fixed. So rejection should be looked at as temporary. It should be looked at on a very specific basis. Nobody's ever going to reject you totally. Got to look at specifically what are they rejecting. And you can't take it personal. It has to be something that, this is just something that's happening, and if it's just something that's happening, I can address it. So if you want to know more about being positive, there's tons of little optimism tests. You don't even know, am I a positive person or am I a negative person? There are tons of tests for free that you can take online. Do that. But the big thing is, who do people want to work with? People who are happy. And I've talked about this before. You all have people in your town who are idiots when it comes to investing. They have all their clients in American funds. They have all their clients in such as this or such as that. And you look at, when you get a portfolio from them, you're like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Yet, I'm scratching my head because he is one of the most successful guys in town. Why? Because he's great at empathy. He's great at all these things. That he's selling to humans, and he's using all of these. He's using the attunement, buoyancy, clarity. He's not a financial genius. He's just an excellent salesperson using these tools. He's choosing to be happy, and people want to be around happy people. Clarity. So we got the A, attunement, empathy, looking through the world through the client's eyes, buoyancy, working with a can-do attitude, not a everything woe is me attitude. Again, not positive talk, but with a can-do attitude. That's buoyancy. Clarity is what? It's the ability to help others see their situation in a new and more revealing ways. What is the whole 21-point checklist script about? See, when they come in, well, we'll talk about that here in a second. And to identify problems they didn't know exist. We do that with the 21-point checklist, right? So if there's a guy walking through the airport, and he has cancer, and he happens to see a magazine there on the front page says, we have a cure for this, let's say he has ABC cancer. And he's walking through the airport and he sees a magazine that says, a new cure for ABC cancer has been discovered. Is he going to be interested in that? And Allie, can you give me answers to this? I'm sorry, guys, I can't see your answers to questions today. Will he be interested? If a guy has ABC cancer and he's walking through the airport and he sees a magazine cover and it says, cure for ABC cancer, is he going to be interested in buy that magazine?
You got a yes. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. He's not, because I didn't give you all the information. Just because he has cancer, does he know he has cancer? Are there people walking around today that do have cancer, do not know they have cancer? Yes. Yes, there are. and see what is the 21-point checklist. When people come into your office, do they think their guy is screwing them? Do they think their guy is withholding information to put himself in a better position, and by doing so, putting them, the client, in a worse position? How many clients come into your office and realize that? They don't. Instead, they come in and say, hey, do you have a little technique that I can save some taxes? Hey, can you get me a little bit better return? Hey, can you get me to... They're looking at the true problem. Because what is the true problem? Taxes? Fees? What's the true problem? See, they come in with these other little problems when the real problem is what? Their current guy is taking advantage of them. But by doing the 20-point checklist, guess what we do? By asking them, do we tell them? Do we sell them? Do we preach at them? Do we teach at them that the guy is screwing them? No, we let them discover for themselves, open-ended questions. The scripts that have been developed and used 100,000 times successfully to get them to realize, oh, my true cancer is not that I'm paying a little bit too much in taxes. My true cancer is that my guy is giving me bad information to put himself in a better position and me in a worse position. That's what we do. Being a leader is being able to frame a problem in an interesting way. Is the 21-point checklist an interesting way for them to learn that their guy is taking advantage of, withholding information to put himself in a better position and them in a worse position? And to see the true problem. The true problem is what? What should they, not through the through the non-financial, what do they need to say at the end of every script? Except for the will and trust. But every other script, what do they have to say? Any advisor doesn't do this. Any advisor doesn't cover this. Any person doesn't spend time on this is a bad advisor. At the end of every script, they need to say that. And then once we get into the financial things, what do they need to say? My advisor did not tell me this, and the reason he didn't tell me this is because he makes more money by me not knowing, and I'm making less money by me not knowing. My true problem is not any of these other things. My true problem is my guy, who I thought was my best friend, who takes me golfing 2 or 3 times a summer, is not my best friend. He's taking advantage of me. He is screwing me. That's not because I say so, but because they discover it for themselves. That's their true problem, right? All I do is jump in and show them how to reduce their taxes, what will they do with that information? Go back to the current guy. All I do is jump in and show them how to reduce the fees. What are they going to do? Go back to the current guy. I mean, I remember one guy we showed, one of our advisors showed a client back when B shares were prominent, how he was paying $50,000 a year in B share costs. $50,000 a year in B share costs. And so he came back and he was so happy. He was telling the advisor that, man, I can't believe, you're the best advisor I've ever met. I really, really appreciate it. I went back to my guy and I told him about these B shares and how he was screwing me, and he moved all those and he promised he'd never do it again. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I tell you what, if my guy ever retires, I'm coming back to you. Great. So he showed him how to solve the problem, and he did. But did he move from the current advisor? No. Showing them how to solve problems is not what's going to do. You have to get to the true problem, and the problem that they can't take back to the current advisor. If they think the current advisor is screwing them, how many of them are going to go back and say, okay, my job is to convert this guy from a bad guy into a good guy? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to want to leave their guy. They're not going to take back that information and try to make the guy a better person. They're going to leave that guy. But if you go back and you show them any problems, look, you're not diversified well enough. You're paying too much in fees. Your turnover is too high. Your risk reward isn't very good. I mean, if you do that, all they're going to do is take that information back to the guy. The guy's going to fix it, and you'll get nothing. The real problem is what? Their guy. The 2 long-standing sales skills have been stood on their head. In the past, we provided information. Now we have to be adept at helping the client identify the information that really affects them. That's what the whole 20-point checklist is about. We used to be skilled at answering questions. Now we have to be experts at asking questions. Guys, this isn't me saying this. This is the book, To Sell as Humans, the science of selling. Don't provide information. No. Don't try to show them how smart you are. Don't try to show them how qualified you are. No. We have to be adept at helping clients. We have to be adept at helping the clients identify the information that really affects them. We have to be experts at asking questions. And we have to be able to do it in the right way. Joe Sugarman is considered one of the foremost geniuses in marketing messages that ever existed. Back in the 50s. And there's a story about him. If you ever want to read a book on marketing, even though it's 100 years old, or almost 100, or not 150 years old, go back to write it or read anything Joe Sugarman has written. But here's an example that they give. Now, this could be a urban legend, but it still makes the point. He was coming back on a nice spring day with a buddy, and they're walking back from lunch down Fifth Avenue in New York, and they saw a beggar on the street, an unhoused person on the street, and it had a sign that says, "I'm blind, please help." And Joe Sugarman said, I guarantee you, I can double or triple what that man is going to be able to get from people who walk by him by just changing a little bit. So his buddy took the bet. So what did they change? What did Joe Sugarman do? He said he talked to the man. He said, "Can I change your sign to see if we can help you get more people, help you to get more people to help you?" And the guy said, "Yeah, well, sure." So instead, what he said, he put in the sign, "It is spring." He just added the phrase, "It is spring," on the same guy's sign, just above it, it said, "It is spring. I am blind. Please help." So what did people, that put in people, "I'm blind, please help." And people would be, there are some sympathetic people, but when it said, "It is spring, I am blind, please help," people were out for lunch on this beautiful spring day after a harsh winter, beautiful spring day, sun shining, birds are singing, nice fresh breeze, everybody's happy. And then they think, "Oh my God, if I was blind, I wouldn't be able to," well, I guess they could hear the birds sing, but they certainly couldn't see them. And it helps them to compare where they're at with where this guy is. And by doing that, it tripled. They sat there for an hour. It tripled what he'd been getting. So knowing how to phrase, and it's really contrast, really helps people understand what you're trying to do. So do you see it? The importance of contrast when communicating with data. So when you go to get your glass, and when you go to get your eye checked, does the eye doctor say, "Hey, there's a bunch of glasses over there. Here, try these on. Does that help you see better?" "Well, yeah, I guess better than I was before." "Okay, go on home." No, that's not how they do it. That's not how they do it. What do they do? They put you behind the goggles and they say, "Listen, which one's better? First or second? Click, click. Which one's better? First or second? Click, click. Which is better? First, second? Click, click." Because as human beings, we have become accustomed to making our purchases, making our decisions by comparing it to something else. And do we do that with the 20-point checklist? On every single script, we do that. So what's the takeaway here? Spend a whole day pausing 3 seconds after someone finishes talking before answering. If you do that, you're not going to be telling someone, preaching, or teaching. So spend a whole day. After somebody says something, spend 3 seconds, 2001, 2002, 2003, before answering. Why? Because it gives you a chance to internalize what they've just said before you start blabbing what you want to say. If people don't care what you want to say, they care what they want to say. So pause 3 seconds just for a day. Write this down. Pause 3 seconds after someone finishes talking before answering. Be nice. Treat everyone as you would your grandmother. How would you behave if the person walking into your office was your grandmother instead of a prospect? You are more likely to genuinely serve that person, which over the long haul will make you a better person and way more successful. And always ask yourself these two questions. If the person you're selling to agrees to buy, will his or her life improve? And guys, if they use the 21-point checklist, how much will their lives improve? Oops. And number two, when your interaction is over, will the world be a better place than when you began? If you do the 21-point checklist, will it be? So when you master these things, crib notes and the motive, You're doing your daily practice with myths and gods. If you're reviewing the scripts that we have on, or the actual tapes that we have online of advisors learning from their mistakes, when you do these things, that's when you bring on every single client you want. And when you bring on every single client you want, marketing will not be a problem for you. Because every type of marketing brings people in. The reason advisors don't use it is because they always say, well, seminars and webinars, all they are is plate lickers and tire kickers, or they're just there for the information. You're right. But if you're a great salesperson, you can change plate lickers and tire kickers and convert 90% of them, 94% of them. Make sense? Awesome, possum. Well, you guys have a terrific rest of the day, rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody.